My name is Marty. I'm in Auckland, New Zealand. I assume you're Patterson, and are you in Georgia or are you in Portland?
I'm in Portland, Oregon, but I want to be where you are. I want to come
do.
there. I've always wanted to come visit your beautiful country, and I sure hope that once this nightmare is over, we can do that. I really, really am dying to come see that.
There's a lot of people who would love to see the band down here, so it should be a thing that happens.
Yep.
I mean, we're doing, I don't know how much you know about what's going on in New Zealand, but we're pretty much free and clear of everything. And like, I'm going to gigs every night and having parties and going to movies and all sorts of stuff. So the only thing we have to do is wear a mask if we're on public transportation.
Oh man. So how long do I have to quarantine in order to get to
2 weeks?
2 weeks, man.
You can just stand on your head.
Yeah,
and
do that. Yeah.
They put you in like a 5-star hotel and feed you. They treat you like kings while you're in there, so it's not a bad thing.
Right, let's go. I'm calling Kevin and Christine when I hang up. It's like, man, we got to make this happen.
Exactly. So, how are things where you are?
It sucks, but I'm trying to be optimistic. You know, the election, once Biden gets in there, at least we can start fixing shit. And I mean, it's a mess. And you know, the last 4 years has just been a nightmare in our country. And it's like he finds ways every day to make things worse. And here in the middle of a pandemic, and he's, you know, blocking Biden's resources to have a smooth transition so that when he actually starts, it's going to be harder. You know, fortunately, and, you know, I know a lot of people on my side politically weren't enthusiastic about Biden when he was running because he's like, oh man, he's like the old guard, more of the same. But honestly, it's probably going to be a good thing right now to have someone that really knows how to work the levers of power there, just to get in there and get shit done. Plus, it sounds like he's really wanting to really, you know, answer to and be a part of the more progressive side of the left anyway.
Yeah. And I think the addition of Kamala Harris as the vice president made a big difference for a lot of people. So that's a plus.
So I'm enthusiastic about that. And, you know, hopefully the vaccine will be starting getting distributed around here before too long. And I will be first in line as soon as I'm eligible. And, you know, I know they're going to want to take care of people who actually need it a lot more than some guitar player. And so, you know, but I'm all there as soon as I want to play rock and roll again.
Yeah.
My job. I don't like my new job nearly as much as my old job.
Fair enough. And speaking of your new job, I see you posted something in Rolling Stone a couple of days ago about the Georgia elections, and
right.
Do you feel like that's kind of part of your new job, is to comment on things like that? And what was the reaction that you got?
I've been doing that all along. You know, it's like it's as far as that goes. I've always considered that kind of part of what I do for sure. You know, anytime anybody wants me to. But you know, as far as, I mean, like, we can't tour, and we're a touring band, and the way the music business has become in the last decade, you know, pretty much every other income stream is dried up. I mean, as far as like, you know, publishing deals used to be, it was never anything I could live off of, but it used to be something that it helped. You know, it's like we could, you know, 4 times a year you'd get a check that could pay off something and, you know, get things kind of, you know, lube the machine a little bit. That's dried up to nothing now. So it's all based on playing out, and we can't do it. So
yeah.
I do shows up here in this room every 2 weeks. I do a show on Wednesday. I did one last night, and they're not lucrative, but it helps. It's managed to keep the lights on, and we haven't lost our house, thankfully. And you know, none of us have gotten sick in our family, and I've got some close friends that are very sick, and a couple who may not make it. But we're hanging tough.
Yeah. Now, speaking of lucrative, I was wondering if you had an opinion about, or any thoughts about, Bob Dylan's move to sell off his copyrights to Universal. Is that kind of the thing that you need to do these days?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, I don't know the particulars of his deal. I know it's a lot of money. I've heard a few different asides about it. You know, to me, he's earned the right to do whatever he wants to do. It's his song.
My attitude, yeah.
And he's nearly 80 years old. He just put out, you know, an album that I think will rank up there with, you know, amongst his classics here at this age.
Yep.
And he's won a Pulitzer and a Nobel. I mean, you know,
He's done
whatever
his
he
dash.
wants to do is fine with me. And I'm, you know, so I don't have an opinion. I don't think anyone's going to offer me anything near that much for my little songs, but
You never know.
Yep.
And
So-
you guys have 2 albums out this year, and I see Taylor Swift has just put a 2nd album out. I mean, are we?
Yeah,
just
you know, she likes to, oh, that worked for the truckers. That might work for me.
I'm
Maybe.
sure that's exactly the thought process.
I really liked her last record. I thought it was kind of wonderful. I loved it. I'm kind of a recent convert to the ways of Taylor. Neither of my kids got into her at all. In fact, I actually kind of ended up turning my teenage daughter onto her because she was convinced she didn't like her. And I played her Folklore, and she's like, "This is kind of cool," and she ended up liking it. But but yeah, I think she's kind of awesome, you know. And I had never really paid a lot of attention to her until a couple of records ago, and it's like, man, she's kind of cool. So,
and Miley Cyrus has a rocking album out, you know. I mean, and
which I haven't
I've started
heard
listening
yet.
to a lot of Lana Del Rey. It's like, you know,
I love her. Yeah, I'm all about Lana Del Rey.
It's like, whoa.
She's awesome. Me and Springsteen are the president and vice president of her fan club. But
That's all right. And Bruce's album was pretty good too, so I must say.
I loved it. My favorite East Street Band record since Tunnel of Love. I mean, I thought it was a great record, and so and they sounded great on it. So
it's been a pretty good year musically, if not for everything else.
Yeah.
So
That's
how is
been
the band
saving-
feeling? How is the band feeling about their place in what they've accomplished this year and what they're looking forward to doing now? Do you guys talk about stuff like that?
Not really. You know, Cooley don't like to talk about anything. If I talk to Cooley, there's either some business that needs to get tended to that we have to discuss, or else it's just, I mean, him shooting the shit about a food cart he found that had great tacos,
There you
or
go.
good Indian food he found, or how pissed off he is about something that's going on in DC, or I mean, we you know, we're super close, but we don't talk about the things like that. He just doesn't want to talk about. And,
Right.
You know, that's why I do most of the press, because he hates talking about music. He hates talking about songs and records. And, you know, people ask him, you know, like, what are your top 10 records of the year? He goes, I don't know. Foghat, Fool for the City. You know, it's like, I'm still listening to that, you know, but so, and so he's ornery, but, so we don't talk about that stuff, but I guess I talk enough for everybody.
I'm sure you do. So what is the glue that keeps the two of you together and makes you work together? Because at this point, it's 20 years, right?
It's 35 years.
Oh my God.
35. Yeah. 35 fucking years. I mean, and we, you know, this was our 4th band. We had 3 bands that were dismal failures before the Truckers. The Truckers will turn 25 in June. And but we were 11 years in when we formed this band. And you know, in the old days, I think we stayed together because there was a genuine chemistry when we played, because we didn't get along for shit. We fought all the time. We liked each other probably more than either would have admitted, but we certainly weren't going to admit it to anybody, including especially each other.
Right.
And fought like cats and dogs, just because we couldn't be more opposite. But there was a genuine chemistry. Before either of us were worth a shit, there was a good chemistry. You know, we both, and somehow, even as young as we were, because we were teenagers, and we somehow recognized, somebody actually sat us down really early on. It's like, you guys aren't worth a shit, but y'all are better together than separate. Y'all need to stay together because there's something there, and eventually you'll both be good, and that thing that's there already will become great. And someone told us that, a guy named Tom Pizza, of all things, that was his name, or his stage name, told us that in 1986, about a year into playing, at a time when we were probably about done with each other.
Right.
And I think we took it to heart. We just kept doing it. And, the last 20 years, it got to where we were, we didn't fight anymore. We quit fighting about 20 years or so ago. And since we've both had kids, since we started having kids, we've become just like super close. And,
right.
It
does mellow you out. You realize what's important in life.
Yeah. I miss him a lot. I can't wait to hang out with him, and he'll even tell me that, that he misses me, and which is crazy. But and we have Easy B. We have our drummer who's been with us for 22 years next month.
Right.
And he played with us off and on before that for a couple of years, but he's the glue. He's the one in the band. You got to have that one guy in the band of hot-headed people like that. Yep. We call him Easy B for a reason, and he keeps everybody level. And if somebody's getting too far one direction or the other, he's the one who hey man, listen, and so we've got that.
Yeah. And speaking of other members of the band, I did want to touch on Mike, who sings "The KKK Took My Baby Away." I'm wearing my Ramones t-shirt.
The KKK took my baby away, away from me. The KKK took my baby away, away from me. Hey!
Oh, Matt Patton.
Matt, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, man, and he's the new guy, but he's coming up on 8 years now in the band. We went through for years. We had all this turbulence and personnel changes, and we never made more than 2 records in a row without at least one membership change until Matt joined. And he's been in the band 8 years, and it's been just solid. It's been like family.
Yeah.
But he's great, man. He brings so much to the table. Because his background before playing with us, he played in one of my favorite bands called the Dexatines, which they're still a band. They just occasionally they'll make a record and play a few shows, but they're still a band. They're a great band, and so he has this kind of punk rock thing from that. But his other job, he has a studio, but he did session work and went out and played live backing up Fat Possum players, some of the old blues guys in Fat Possum. So he has this huge background of going out, playing old Mississippi roadhouses and shit, backing up, those guys. And a lot of whom have passed on.
It's like R.L. Burnside and all those guys, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so that gave him a great toolbox for what we do, because we don't ever use a set list, and those guys didn't either. And we don't ever, we don't plan things out too much. We don't practice very much. And you just kind of, when he joined the band, I think he had practiced with us a total of maybe 3 hours before the first show he played with us. And we kind of throw you to the wolves, and it's like, you got to make it work. And he loved that. He embraced that.
Yeah. Now the title of the most recent album is called The New OK, which my understanding is that the new OK isn't okay, is what you're trying to get across.
Not okay about the new OK. I want the old OK back.
but do you need to get to the new OK to get to a better OK? Because that's kind of the path.
I'll take whatever I can get right now. I'll take whatever OK gets me back on the road. But
it's been like since February since you played, right?
Yeah. Our last show was February 29th, and then we had almost 2 weeks off, and we flew to Indianapolis for what was supposed to be the first show of this tour, of the next leg of the tour. And we were 2 songs into sound check when they told us we're going home. So I hitched a ride back to Georgia on the bus and found a flight home the next day. And I've been here in this house since March 13th.
Man. So what does that do to a band? I guess you don't know until you come back. When you do reconvene, does the dynamic change? Do you have to kind of reacquaint each other to each other, or how does it happen?
I think we're going to be better than ever. We're going to be a force to be reckoned with when we can all get together again. You know, making the record this summer was I mean, on one level it sucked because all our records, we're in a room together. We make our records basically live. I mean, all our studio records are, you know, there may be one song every 2 or 3 records that we build a track at a time because it works best for that song. But most of the stuff we do, 95% at least of everything is recorded live in a room. And so when we were, you know, we had the new stuff to record this summer in order to put out the new OK, and we had to make it work with me out here in Oregon and them in 3 states in the Southeast, which is a long way away.
It is indeed.
But I wanted it to sound like the songs that we had already recorded in Memphis that were going to be on the record. I wanted it to match up and not be like, oh, you can tell this was something they had to do some kind of bullshit to make happen. But it worked magically. It's like everybody just instinctively knew to leave the right spaces and the right places for other people to do, you know. Right. And I mean, I think it would be hard to tell the difference which songs we cut new and which ones we didn't if you didn't read the liner notes.
Yeah. I mean, it is amazing what you can do with technology these days. Just the fact that we're doing this is one thing, but to make a record like that is just mind blowing.
Yeah. And we did it. I mean, we did it. We pulled that off super quick. I mean, I wrote the new OK in this room, and within a week of that is when we decided we were going to put out an album. And in 6 weeks, we recorded 3 new songs. We mixed it. We mastered it. I wrote the liner notes. Wes Freed did the artwork, and it all got put together. Everything was done in 6 weeks.
Right.
And a week after that, it came out digitally, which is one of the few things I can actually talk good about the way the music business is I do love the fact that we can put something out that quick.
Yeah.
And you know, the vinyl and the CDs are coming out next week, but it was out online, you know, while the new OK the ink was barely dry on the paper it was written on. And, you know, as someone that loved like songs like Neil Young's Ohio, where it was out in stores, you know, within less than 2 weeks after Kent State. I mean, I'd really mourned the loss of that type of quickness in the music business. And so that's kind of the good part of the trade-off of the new way it is you can do that now.
Yeah. Now I'm guessing that you kind of have your thumb on you probably are very familiar with all the retailers, record stores around the countries and
Sure.
and the clubs and all that. So when this is eventually kind of back to quote unquote normal, do you see things getting to be okay, or are there going to be some casualties along the way?
There's going to be some casualties. There's already been a lot of casualties, and you know, I've done everything I can come up with to do as far as like I participated in a benefit for Tipitina's, a benefit for First Avenue in Minneapolis, which is those are 2 of the great clubs of the world. And, you know, I know there's been, you know, a movement to save the Troubadour. The thought of something like the Troubadour being endangered is just hard for me to even wrap my mind around. And it's like those places are, I mean, that's what we have as a culture in our country. You know, those are so important, you know. And so, You know, at I think the 40 Watt Club in Athens is going to be okay, but we lost Caledonia, which is a much smaller but a really essential part of Athens fabric as a scene town, and them losing that, I mean, that's irreplaceable. And so many of those size rooms are just lost because they're just, you know, the budget, their operating thing was precarious anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm sure some new places will open, and I'm sure some good ones will open. But it's heartbreaking to see places you love. Same with restaurants. You know,
Yep.
my two favorite restaurants in Portland are gone, and you know, so you know, there's a lot of other places, but I lost my two favorites, and
Yeah. And here in New Zealand, at least we're lucky we have all this stuff happening. But I can imagine what it's going to be like in the States when it does open up. Is like everybody going to be on the road? Is it going to be like this mass, you know?
I mean, I don't know. I hope people will go back out. I mean, I know a lot of people will, but I know there's going to also be people who are just, I mean, for starters, there'll be people who it's going to take a long time to get that many people vaccinated. And
Right.
then plus, there'll be some people who just, you know, anti-vaxxers who won't do it.
I know.
And then there'll just be some people who just have moved on. You know, it's like I don't go out to shows anymore. You know, there'll be that. So
Man.
so it's gonna be a long road back. But
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I'd like to think there will always be people who want to go out and see live rock and roll, and you know, playing in a rock and roll band, we're not dinosaurs yet, but we're definitely, you know, it's a precarious thing, you know,
Yep.
anyway, but you know, hopefully we can make it last for the rest of my life.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, you talk about the vaccination. I talked to somebody in LA a couple of weeks ago, and it was when I think the ex-presidents were going to do the vaccination live on camera to prove that it was safe.
Right.
But there was still like the suspicion, oh, maybe they're not really having that being injected. And it's like, well, you just can't win, you know? I mean, some people are just going to fight this thing all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
And that mentality, how do you beat that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think all we can do is those of us who don't have that mentality just push through and try to show the way, you know, and do the best we can. I mean, you know, it's just like these silly songs I write. You know, it's like I don't have any illusions of changing the world, but if something I write makes somebody feel a little better about something in the meantime, then it served its purpose. And you know, that's really all I can do is you know, pick my battles and do the best I can. Try to raise my kids best I can to be better people than I was.
There you go. And make some good music. You guys have had a good year. 2 great albums on the bookending the year. That's not bad. So
thank you. I'm real proud. I'm real proud of my band. You know, I love my band. If I wasn't in this band, I'd be a huge fan. I'd be somebody that would go see the band because you know, we built the band of things that we all as music lovers love. So we basically try to please ourselves, and we're all kind of hard to please. And the 5 of us could not be more different. And so I figure if we can come up with something that all 5 of us sign off on, it's probably going to be pretty solid, you know? Yeah. And that's something that from day one has always been part of how we operate is, you know, we want it in the end of the day to be something that all of us, if there's one member isn't proud of something, it's not going to go on there.
Yeah, fair enough. That's what being a band's all about.
Yep.
Have you ever got any thoughts about solo work?
I mean, I've got 3 solo records, and and I'm proud of my solo records. I think they're kind of have their own thing, and I actually would love to make another one at some point. I've kind of got I've pretty much got one written that I've been sitting on. I'd originally thought I might work on it this year during all of this, but
Yeah, you've been busy.
yeah, I've been busy doing other stuff. It turned out that, you know, right now the band's just got such a thing that I haven't really been motivated to, you know, the three solo records I've got were each made at times when the band was probably going through a little bumpy period, and I wanted to do something creative, but I needed a break from them.
Right.
And you know, the record I've got written, I'd love to do, but I don't really want to take the time away from my band because they're all fun. So I figure it'll still be there when the time comes when we decide to take a break or whatever at some point, you know, whenever that might be now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully you guys will be on the road sometime soon because this can't go on forever.
Come where you are. I want to come see your beautiful island.
We got plenty of room here.
I'm dying to come see it. You know, I've just seen it in movies, and that's amazing. You know?
Yeah. Well, I can't believe you haven't been here before. I did kind of search around to think that you guys must have been here at some point, but as far as I can tell, no.
We went to Australia once, and I don't know why we weren't able to do it then. But I mean, that's been 11 years ago, almost 12 years ago, and that was with Booker T. Jones. We made a record with Booker back in 2009. It came out, and we went and we played. We did the Byron Bay Festival, and we did a show in Melbourne and a show in Sydney. And I think we weren't able to do more because we had to fly like the next day straight back to do Coachella, which is the time we did that. And so I think that cut into like our time of getting to do it. And but we're going to do it right next time because I want to come.
Give yourself some time.
Yeah.
It's a country you want to kind of check out. I can tell you that. All right. Well, thank you very much for talking to me. This has been a thrill, and you know, great that you guys are doing so well this year. It's a bright spot in an otherwise rather spotty year. So,
well, thank you so much for talking to me, and hopefully I'll meet you in person.
I'm sure you will at some point.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.